Tall and truly warm garden beds made from a unique ultra-durable material that is very easy and cheap to make with your own hands. All materials for these garden beds are easy to find. You can buy them, for example, on your way to the dacha at any hardware store and transport them in a car or even on a gardener's cart. You won't be able to buy such ready-made garden beds because business hasn't yet managed to get its greedy hands on the technology, which I believe should belong to the people. These garden beds are excellent for producing a large quantity of high-quality and healthy vegetables, even in areas with risky farming conditions. You can easily apply various homemade, inexpensive finishes to these garden beds for a unique look. This way, you can make your property stand out, decorating it, for example, in a Mediterranean style like the oligarchs, adding a touch of luxury to our harsh plots. They are suitable for us, beginner gardeners, advanced gardeners, and even extreme gardeners. These are improved garden beds, the construction of which is based on the experience of all previously made high warm beds, the first of which we have been using for almost 10 years now. I think decorating our property with palm trees made from plastic bottles is not the only thing we're capable of. Now our productive plots will be able to compete in beauty with the landscapes of the best Mediterranean villas. Viewers of the Yasha Kosiak Songs channel will be the first to learn this important information. Let's review everything step by step. Hello everyone? My wife asked me to make new garden beds in place of the old ones with rotten wooden sides, which we dismantled last year, and she asked me to remove the bed next to the path altogether. It has fulfilled its purpose. The new warm garden beds save space due to their high yield. A lawn will now border the path. Here are almost all the materials you'll need. The plunge pool, the path, and the fence, made with the new innovative technology, have wintered well. So I bought another pack of Penaplex Comfort and started roughening up the sheets with a handsaw blade detached from the handle. When I was buying this material, I immediately saw rough sheets called Penaplex Wall 5 cm thick. For what I have in mind, sheets of insulation just 3 cm thick are enough for me. Only smooth ones were for sale. I recall the dimensions of the tall, warm garden bed I made earlier using a new method. By the way, it's already been well tested by time, and it's entering its 3rd gardening season. We're very happy with it, especially my wife. A 5-meter tape measure isn't enough. The length of this garden bed is 5 meters 36 centimeters. The width is almost a meter to be exact, 98 centimeters. I'll make 2 new garden beds of the same size. I also plan to save twice as much on materials. I want the materials for the 2 new garden beds to match those used for 1 old bed of the same height. The preparations for the new construction experiment are already waiting in the garage. If everything works out, it should be interesting. So to make sure you don't miss anything, subscribe if you haven't already and hit the bell. Penaplex is easily cut with a regular utility knife and securely glued with construction polyurethane foam adhesive. It's the very beginning of spring outside, the weather is unstable, and sometimes it still freezes. So I'll have to work in the garage since it's above freezing here. Regular viewers of the Pesni Yashi Kosiaka channel know I love working outdoors under the canopy. But the time of year doesn't allow for that yet. The cold will slow everything down, and a sudden frost could even harm the process. My wife asked me to make the new garden beds earlier this time, before the seedlings outgrow their pots. I'm gluing the material into 2 strips, each as long as the future garden beds. Using my 6-meter garage, I'm creating the 3rd strip from 2 sheets. I accidentally ran over a sheet with the welding table wheel and damaged it, but I fixed it immediately. Next, I use an alkali-resistant plaster mesh. According to the label, the mesh is made of fiberglass. It's used for reinforcing plaster and protecting decorative coatings based on cement with a thickness from 2 to 10 millimeters. It's used for installing lightweight plaster systems, insulation, exterior plaster work, and interior finishing. In the base layers of facade systems with plaster, self-leveling floors, and waterproofing. The roll is 20 meters long with a density of 160 grams per square meter. Its tensile strength is 1,800 by 1,800. Higher numbers mean a stronger mesh. I was tempted by the price and bought 50 meters of Chinese mesh as a backup. It's odd that 50 meters of Chinese mesh weigh nearly the same as 20 meters of Belarusian mesh, yet they're even cheaper. Belarusia. 20 meters of mesh with a density of 160 weigh a little over 3 kilograms, while 50 meters of Chinese mesh with the same density weigh just a bit more than 3 kilograms. There is no information about the specific characteristics on the label. If it says 110 in parentheses, the mesh's actual density could be 110 grams per square meter. I divide the Belarusian weight by its length and get a density near 160. Doing the same with the Chinese mesh gives a density of just 70, not 160 or even 110. It's incredible. Friends, this isn't an ad, just trying to understand these meshes. I'll set the Chinese one aside for now and use it in less important products since it's cheaper. I now realize why Konstantin's X-ray photoelectron spectroscopy beam failed. He tried to cut costs on the mesh. Tall, warm garden beds are important things, so I won't try to save money on the mesh. I'm cutting strips of the required length and width. I'm reducing the 2-sheet piece to 2 meters. The method is nearly waste-free. This piece should be useful later. There's not even a cardboard core, only the mesh. Next, I apply adhesive for thermal insulation systems, using our Belarusian product. By the way, I haven't seen any foreign adhesives for sale here. If you want to repeat my construction tricks, use a denser mesh so the threads don't come apart. And as for the adhesive, use the one specifically for thermal insulation. In different regions, it's probably made by different brands. This consistency is just right. Using the notched side of the trowel, I spread adhesive on the foam board. Thanks to the notches, I can apply an even amount of adhesive to the surface. And the fact that the surface is horizontal allows me to do this kind of work even without any plastering experience. The universe itself helps, meaning the gravity of planet Earth. I'm laying down the fiberglass mesh. I gently press the mesh into the adhesive with the float. The task is simple. I think it's manageable even for inexperienced summer residents who may have overindulged the night before, which often happens to occasional dacha visitors. Even the air at the dacha feels intoxicating after being in the city. With a wide spatula, I give it a final, almost excessive smoothness. Friends, everything is truly easy and simple, almost embarrassingly so. Regular viewers might be tired of these shots since they're a bit monotonous. But it's not my fault that you can do almost everything this way. There's also a street Euro toilet, a luxury garden shower, a Mediterranean-style plunge pool, a matching path and fence, and even a garden sofa made from this material. I admit, even I'm pretty tired of these monotonous and very simple actions. If I were a master carpenter or fine woodworker, 1 in a million, that would mean something. And to work with this material, you don't need any skills at all. It works out from the very first minutes. I'm waiting for the surface to set for the first time. You can continue in the morning, and in the summer, under a canopy, the parts dry even faster. I'm adjusting the freshly set pieces. Future ones. The sides are still quite flexible, so I turn them over carefully. This method for making strong, durable parts uses technology proven over decades. It has been used in facade insulation for a very long time. The essence of it is that special plastic umbrella dowels are used to glue and secure insulation boards to the walls that need insulation, such as a building's facade. Penoplex sheets are then covered with a base reinforcing layer using reinforcing fiberglass mesh and adhesive. The same as what I use on the future garden beds. Thanks to special polymers found in structural mixtures for thermal insulation, such a layer holds very securely. I'll repeat, decades of trouble-free use on facades prove this, as long as the technology is followed. The surface resists moisture because Penoplex has near zero water absorption. You can insulate foundations and plinths the same way, using the more durable Penoplex fundament. Penoplex is also suitable for insulating house contours, blind areas, plinths, floors, walls, balconies, and roofs. Penoplex insulated walls, unlike those with mineral wool, are guaranteed not to be blown through. There was a little mishap with the welding table, a wheel came off, and it slightly damaged the future side panel. It's no big deal, everything is easy to fix, and for Yasha, every project has a mishap. Unlike the technology used for insulating facades, I plaster the Penoplex not on one, but on both sides, thus turning it into a warm, durable composite material. You could say, a homemade sandwich panel. It's obvious to the naked eye that the sides of the nearest garden bed need to be disposed of. It's so great to stretch out in the yard on a spring morning, getting your body moving after the winter laziness. With a thickness of only 3 cm, the thermal performance of Penoplex is equal to that of a wall made of dry wooden beams with a thickness of 17 cm. And that's no joke, in tall, warm garden beds, insulated sides help increase yields. I'll explain why later. Only the galvanized iron stakes and fasteners remained intact, which I bent from scraps of corrugated sheet for the borders of the old garden bed. Now, for example, you can set it on fire. But we are fighting against the genetic memory of our East Slavic ancestors within us, who in ancient times quickly set fire to everything unnecessary and everyone they didn't like. Without any unnecessary ceremony, so to speak, we are against burning things that could still be useful. Old organic matter is valuable, so nothing goes to waste. I'm doing some simple work marking out the future garden beds. Laser levels and rangefinders are great, but if an apocalypse happens and humanity is left without batteries and accumulators, the modern person will starve to death. If you can't mark out raised warm beds, that's why I prefer not to lose the skill of marking with a string. By the way, it's the raised warm beds that can definitely help you survive in a post-apocalyptic period, for example, if you survive a nuclear war. A course on these beds might be useful for school children, otherwise only gardeners and vegetable growers will survive. Overall, the group is mostly older people, and it won't be so easy for them to continue the human race. So share this video with younger people as well. They need to know this important survival information. Friends, the composite sides are ready. The thin plaster layers have barely set, but the overall material is already strong enough to be handled. Why I put strips of masking tape on will become clear a little later. For now, I'm starting to apply a cheap finishing coat, which, according to the plan, is supposed to look expensive instead. I'm using the cheapest tile adhesive. I'm applying it to the surface. Since tile adhesive on a horizontal flat surface tends to spread evenly under the influence of gravity, I'm using a spatula to even it out as much as possible. I'm trying to make it uneven. After a few hours, I put the workpiece in a vertical position and remove the strips of masking tape. I could peel tape forever, but the workpiece isn't infinite. Next comes the truly creative process, which even people who are completely unfamiliar with creativity can handle without any problems. I've used tile and insulation adhesives from various manufacturers. I didn't notice any difference in how they worked. Maybe that's because I'm an amateur. I usually pick the cheapest one available. Sometimes promotions let you buy more expensive materials for less than the cheapest ones. Here in Belarus, even the cheapest sausage is still edible, so cheap doesn't mean low quality. Cutting corners doesn't work here. If you use a notched trowel when spreading the tile adhesive over the surface, the layer will be much more even, and the joints between the future stones will be more evenly recessed. An uninitiated layman, unaware it's all imitation, won't trust his own eyes. Are there still craftsmen who can lay stone this well? These thoughts crossed my mind during the work. I got tired of the fact that wooden garden bed borders only last for a limited number of seasons. Thanks to the durability of the materials used, the new garden beds should last more than 50 years. This is the minimum service life stated by the manufacturer, Penoplex, and that amount of time is more than enough for the active gardening phase of any gardener. In our post-Soviet region, people are typically drawn to the land around age 30 or 40. But what I liked most was peeling off the masking tape. Using bent wire, I traced the seams between imagined future Mediterranean stones. I've heard that a very experienced psychiatrist can create a detailed psychological profile of a patient based on this kind of intuitive creativity. I hope there are no such scientific luminaries among the viewers of the Yasha Koshak Songs channel. Drawing stones relaxes the brain. The more you detach from reality, the more beautiful the bas-reliefs become. Instead of watching the news, I think it's much more useful to get carried away with this simple creativity. And then your blood pressure starts to return to normal, and your heart rhythm gets back on track. At least that's how it seems to me. Once again, I couldn't do it without a mistake. I turned over the first piece, which had gotten noticeably heavier from the tile adhesive, and what happened is what you can see. I lifted it carelessly by one edge, and the other edge bent too much. It's better to turn over long pieces with someone else. Everything else is fine. The defect appeared in just one spot. It's not critical at all. You can leave it as is, but fixing the flaw is very easy, so I decided to fix it. I know that cement-based mixtures reach their main strength in at least 28 days. Soon, the strength of the elements will increase many times over, but for now, being careful won't hurt. I'll make new garden beds, my wife will plant even more tomatoes and cucumbers, and that should bring even more peace of mind. The family's food security definitely strengthens faith, a bright future. The stone texture is ready. All that's left is to add color to the garage masterpieces. For this, I used the cheapest acrylic facade paint and a small amount of colorants to give the stones different shades. This is all left over from last season's busy period. I mix each color and paint to avoid placing same-colored stones side by side. That way, it'll probably look like a Mediterranean stonemason really put a lot of effort into laying them. I found it's easier to paint on a horizontal surface. How many masterpieces of world painting have been ruined by accidental paint drips? That's just a guess. Maybe I went a bit overboard with this color. The neighbors might think that there are malachites or emeralds in this garden bed. It's good the garden isn't visible from the street, so no daredevils will try to dig up our pseudo-malachites. Gray, the natural color of mortar, is also a color, so I don't paint some of the stones. Well, maybe for now everything looks a bit childish, but I hope that's just for now. I cover all the pieces with an antiseptic acrylic tinted varnish for stone, wood, and plaster. I took both tinted and clear varnishes right away and mixed some of them together. The tinted one is really dark, and it might happen that the colors of the stones become barely distinguishable. It's still better to apply several layers, so I darken it gradually. I've applied 2 varnish layers and don't think it should be any darker. After removing the narrow masking tape, I cut the workpiece lengthwise along the central strip. Without this strip, cutting the workpieces along the convex pseudo stones would have been harder, and something would have chipped, but this way it's fine. We get the left and right long sides of the first bed. I cut the second piece and get the long sides of the second bed. The final touches of the garage work are reinforcing the top ends. I can't wait to get out of the garage and into the open space of the garden. Friends, I want to remind you that since the channel's monetization is almost non-existent, I would really appreciate your support. Through the sponsorship button on YouTube, viewers from Russia can support innovations through the Boosty service. The link is under the video. You can also support by subscribing, giving a thumbs up, and leaving helpful advice in the comments. A big thank you to everyone who cares. I bought some drywall profile at the nearest hardware store with a cross section of 27 by 60 millimeters and a few other things. The material comes in 3-meter lengths. I practiced by installing the sides of the first garden bed, which helped me get ready to show you the simple process that follows. I cut each 3-meter profile into 4 equal pieces, each 75 centimeters long. I think I found a new way to cut the profile. Cutting the short flanges causes the long one to break cleanly after 3 to 4 bends. Oh, these modern metal workers really save on metal. I also bought these kinds of angles in the roofing department. The outer roofing angle is used for joining something with something else. It's sold everywhere. The size is 115 by 115 millimeters, the length is 125 centimeters, and one piece is enough for one garden bed. Use scissors or a jigsaw for cutting. An angle grinder burns zinc on edges, causing quick rust. And it shouldn't be like that. To be continued. I don't remember what this thing is called. It's 5 centimeters wide. You can bend all of this yourself. My option is for fancy slackers. As you've already figured out, I decided to make stakes for securing the edges out of the profile used for mounting drywall. We gardeners and home handymen are very prone to hoarding, especially all sorts of scrap metal. I had nothing on hand. What could I feel less sorry about destroying than a cheap drywall profile? The old galvanized garden bed stakes are too short for this. I doubt thrifty owners will have issues with stakes. Posts from this type of profile are just an option for beginners who haven't settled on their plots or gathered supplies yet. The main thing in these garden beds is the sides. I use the side as a ruler, shifting it inward from the marking string by its own thickness. Opposite the areas without stone texture created by masking tape, I drive in stakes. I hammer them in as vertically as possible and check with a level. The garden bed sides are made from a modern, innovative material. It's more reliable to fasten it evenly with a post along the full height rather than at single points, like nailing boards. That's why I left some spots without stone texture. This isn't like building a garden bed in April. March weather isn't pleasant. I'll give you the cost of the garden beds in terms of the amount of materials used. That way you can accurately convert it to the prices of materials in your area. For 2 garden beds, each 1 meter wide and a little over 5 meters long, I used almost 11 sheets of Penaplex Comfort, 3 centimeters thick. By the way, there are 13 sheets in a full pack like that. Raised beds are kind of separated from the main ground, so they warm up faster in the spring sun. A raised bed, even with warm sides, is still not a warm bed without the right filling. It's like a nuclear reactor without nuclear fuel. At the bottom of the beds, I lay out used up wood material. These are the sides of old beds, dismantled old composters, and other wooden junk. Basically, I tidy up the yard and put everything at the bottom. This layer will separate the bed from the still cold ground below and will serve as the coarsest organic matter. It is thanks to the organic matter that the beds become warm. Bacteria start working, processing all this material, and their activity heats up the soil in the warm beds. Using warm borders makes the process even more effective. We've already tested this ourselves. I cover the coarse organic matter with soil. My wife has already managed to saw some things, and I shred them with a garden shredder. I believe that burning branches as a gardener is like throwing money to the wind. This is key to a good harvest. Finally, there's a reason to get rid of the Christmas tree in a useful way. I'm glad I ignored my wife and didn't take it down in January. Just kidding, it was just our little cedar that got trimmed. Our Christmas tree is artificial. Now, I'm adding everything my wife already collected off camera. In the fall, I rake the leaves in the garden and put them on the old tall warm beds, preserving them for the season. This biomass will become fine organic matter for the new tall warm beds. Under the leaves, there's mulch from mowed grass that covered the soil all summer. I'm moving it along with the leaves. This is our first bed made from extruded polystyrene foam. It used no stakes, but required twice as much foam board. I'm leaving links to videos about this and our other high warm beds, as well as options for filling them with organic matter below this video. You can also learn how long these beds last and how to reload them with new organic matter. I try to fill the soil back in the reverse order in which I removed it so that the layer that was on top before stays on top. Now, it's best to water the beds thoroughly, but the rain is doing this job for me. When the soil settles, I'll add pure humus from the composter on top. That's basically it. You can give these beds a huge variety of finishing touches, and if you put in a little effort, these beds can look unbelievably beautiful. We came up with this simple decoration for ourselves, which is done very quickly and in general looks pretty good.